being described by some as the white paper or A4 revolution.
Blank sheets of paper.
The white paper revolution.
Blank sheets of white paper.
Blank sheets of paper.
White papers in their hands. It's a sign of solidarity against censorship.
Many of my users ask me about the white paper protest, and that is something I absolutely want to cover. But before we get into the current event, we should have a basic understanding of why are these protests happening. Currently, with how restrictive lockdown has been, there has been a lot of issue that everybody is facing in China. After the fire in Urumqi, China, 10 people died in the apartment building. Their death could have been prevented because the death was caused by COVID restriction. Buildings were locked down, and that's why people died. That is what started the white paper protests. Now, to say white paper protests were triggered by the deadly fire is not doing this justice. The fire was really the last straw that broke the camel's back. In this video, we'll react and show you some videos that shows the current mismanagement of Corona lockdown. This individual's been locking down so long, they're kind of losing sense of reality. It is really tough to watch. They want to leave, they need help. Yeah, people cannot be isolating for so long. The audio is far enough where I can't really hear exactly what they're saying. Clearly, someone's in need of help. But this is one of the way where individuals are not allowed to go to certain places. They need to be locked down. They need to go to hospital. That is that. When someone have COVID in China in a dormitory, is a fully lockdown. They're not allowed to go home. And currently winter break is happening. So he is trying to sneak out his dormitory and go home. They're very creative. There's a saying in Chinese, if the person above you are causing all the problem, the person below you will come up with all the solution. And clearly, we have some solution here. So he is trying to sneak out of his dorm, and as we see later in the video, he realized he couldn't actually leave the campus. The campus is under lockdown. So he basically went back to his dorm because he realized there's no way to really get out. This is another evidence of personal liberty and freedom being suppressed in China because of the COVID lockdown. The manager, basically, that owned this complex or a condo complex, this area, got arrested because they had some conflict with the COVID police. In this video, I want to showcase that people at the bottom are being suppressed. Absolutely. However, middle-class people, everyone's freedom and liberty is being silenced. This page is called YU2Zili, and his Chinese name is Li Laoshi, 不是你老师. His Twitter page is basically posting the most up-to-date Chinese protest, Chinese issue, and these are just sources from all over China. People are DMing him what is happening. He's posting on Twitter through a VPN, so people outside the wall can see what's going on. Here is a map of Chongqing. Chongqing is a very dense city. It's probably the 5th or 6th largest city in China. And the red marker means high risk. Basically means individuals are going out, high alert, high threat. It took them only 4 hours for something this high risk to look like this. We all assume there's some massive protests happening, and someone is changing that to make it look less risky. But in reality, this is a protest that most people will practice it. And that's a good segue. I showed you many of the issues that Chinese people are facing, and mostly is a suppression of personal freedom and liberty. But before we show any more protest issue, I want to include one more thing. Another big issue is the current lockdown process in China is very mismanaged. In this video, we'll see a hospital in Jinan that's very mismanaged. Food that's coming to their hospital are going through the trash canal. There are many interest groups making record amount of profit during lockdown. There is a strong incentive to keep the lockdown the way it is. And so usually where you throw your trash, now they're putting fresh food that's delivered for patients are in there. And a patient is not happy about that. Patients are not happy about that, absolutely. This is just one of many issues that exist through the prolonged COVID lockdown. A lot of food handled incorrectly, like here, but in other video, and we have seen the past couple months, food are being mismanaged, so there are huge amount of waste. There was a lockdown in Shanghai about a month or 2 months ago, and people were hungry. People were not getting enough food. Restaurant didn't have enough food to cook. However, there were a large amount of food outside of Shanghai that was stored away or thrown in the garbage because there was major supply chain issue. When mass of the population can't work, this is of course what's going to happen. And now I will show you some protests that's happening in China. This happened December 5th. This is not a precisely white paper protest. In this case, we have a protest happening because, again, students are on campus studying and someone tested positive for coronavirus. Therefore, the whole campus is locked down. No one can go home. And that's a crucial time for Chinese people. In the winter month, big Asian holiday, Spring Festival, or in China, Chinese New Year. And a lot of people want to be home with their families. There were police that was involved. There were administrator staff that was involved. But the students stood their ground. To understand, every protest are happening for a different reason. Some of them align, some of them are completely different. But the undertone message is the same. They're asking to go back to their home. This is precisely about the white paper protests. People are spray painting their campus buildings, and on the second day, someone painted over to cover that up. Now, this could be done by individual or campus police. We don't know. The protest is going on. It's not stopping. Chinese policymakers are making changes and responding to the protests. For example, in Suzhou, you don't have to have your COVID test response and your health scan code on your phone to be able to use public transportation. In Shenyang region of China, a lot of isolated public use area are opening up again. For example, like bathhouse in China is like a northern tradition. A lot of northern provinces love bathhouse. Massage center, beauty center, car rooms, and Wangba is where people all go play video game together. KTV, you guys know where people sing. They're slowly opening up. You still have to wear a mask. You still have to scan your code. When you don't have a green code, you can go in, but they are opening up. In general, is getting more open. More public infrastructure, public services are requiring less to get everywhere, but this is just beginning. This process is just beginning. And I want to mention that many people in the comment section of these posts mentioning that it is still almost impossible to go into hospital, to visit their families. Public transportation are opening up. They don't have full access yet. So it's lagging behind. The newest policy are coming out, but it's lagging behind, and people want more conveniences. People want to go out and they want it now. Here's a post in the Shanghai province. They're mentioning a lot of hospital, like elder care, child care, and privately owned organization like bars, Wangba, like I mentioned, computer bars, escape room, KTV. These are all opening up. In fact, in Shanghai, you don't even need to check your COVID passport, basically, your COVID ID, see if you're positive or not. If you test non-positive in 7 days, you don't have to test again. It seems like Shanghai is much more lenient than Shenyang, and they're opening up much faster. In the day, there is not much a Western audience can really do about this. Other than supporting the students, you can empathize their cause, like and comment on their video, raise awareness, but you can't really get into the country and protest, right? All right. Thank you guys for watching. Subscribe if you want to see more serious content like this to cover. See ya.